Oh, absolutely. I think it's the most obvious part where people can really get into fights, like you said. And that's why the communication is so important. I mean, if there's one item, if there's that one thing, and three people want it, those three people have to have a discussion about who's going to get it. Or are you going to sell it and split the proceeds three ways? It's that old fable about splitting the baby, right? Two people want the baby. Okay, fine, we'll cut the baby in half. Wait a minute, that's not how it works. You can't cut a baby in half. So you got to have that discussion, and I think that's why this is so important, because if you leave it to the end and you huddle around that lawyer's desk like we talked about at the top of the show, and someone gets surprised, and one person gets grandma's diamond ring and three other people don't, talk about a volcano eruption, man. It's just going to be nuts, and you will have done more damage to the family you have left behind than you ever could have done sticking around and screwing things up. I think this is the big bugaboo in this whole conversation, and you made a terrific, for instance, there, Paul, with the cubit zirconia ring. It's worthless in terms of a dollar value, but it could be priceless to some person because grandma, or grandpa got it for grandma when they were on that vacation and blah, blah, blah. There could be this whole fantasy story that's been invented and told and passed down, and that becomes the value. And the ring, the completely monetarily worthless ring, is the representation of the value, of the emotional value that story has to the person who wants to possess it. Again, I don't want to sound like a one-trick pony here, but that's why the communication is so important. That's why you got to go back and have that conversation before all of this gets imprinted into a will and executed when a person dies. You got to have that conversation about what's important to what person. And that person needs to understand that, okay, if you're going to die on that hill over the $100 cubit zirconia ring because of the story it represents, then you're going to have to give on something else. And if you can't give on that something else, then I'm going to make the decision. It's kind of like how we approach things with our kids. Okay, if you want this thing, you're going to have to give on that thing. And if you can't give on both, well, then you're going to lose it all.